Hey Opties! Today we're constructing parallel lines by copying an angle. The angle that we copy is going to be a corresponding angle to the first angle. And remember that if corresponding angles are congruent, then parallel lines are existing. So lines are parallel if their corresponding angles are congruent. And that's what we're going to figure out here. A construction is using only a straight edge, so like lengths, and a straight edge could be a ruler, and it really has to be unmarked. You can't really use the measurement tools on a ruler for it to be straight edge. And then you can use a compass, which makes perfect circles, and if you can use those tools to create something, it's called a construction. And we have these on Desmos geometry tools. So to get here, go to desmos.com/geometry, and I would like for you to log in, and then once you log in, you can probably continue with Google. Then you can save your file. And you always want to keep saving that file after you make edits. So let's start with making a line. We want to make it towards the bottom of our screen. And we want to make it horizontal. So flat, horizontal like a horizon. Leave a big chunk of space up top, and you can make a little bit space below, but make sure there's space above. Let's make another line through the left point, and let's make it diagonal. And make sure you leave space above the second point that you plot, and plenty of space between. Now we want to make a segment whose length is between the lengths of these 2 points. So make it between those two. It doesn't have to be like half or whatever you think looks like half. And don't make it super close to the second point or really, really close to the first point. Just make it, a pretty good size. We're going to use this for our radius to make a circle. And that's going to help us copy the size of our angle. I am going to change the color of this segment because it is in line with this diagonal, and it's, the same color. It's hard to see. So let's just change the color to black so we can see it. Okay. So now that we have a segment, we can click on our compass tool under more tools. We want to click on a segment to find the radius, which is the segment we just made is what we want. And then the center of our circle. So notice it lets you drag the circle anywhere, and we want the center to be that bottom point, that intersection of those two lines. And notice it goes through this point, and it should, because the radius should be the center to the outside of the circle. Now we want to copy this circle up to this top point as its center. So to do that, all we have to do is use the compass tool again and use that segment length. And then our center is just going to be on that top point. It's okay if these overlap. They don't have to make it work, but if they do, it's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so let's measure this angle even more because we've only measured part of the angle. We want to actually measure the spread of the angle, right? Because that's how you measure an angle. It's like how far away are the two sides. So that's what we're going to do next, and we have to do that by first making a radius with our segment. So we're going to click on the point that's on the outside of our bottom circle, and then the other end point of our segment is going to be the intersection of our horizontal line and our bottom circle, so right here. Okay, so if you want to change the color of that, go for it. I'm not going to do it because I can see it really clearly. Now let's make another compass tool, and we're going to use this as our radius, and this top intersection of the circle, so the top circle's intersection with that diagonal line, that's going to be our center. Notice that this circle does not go through the center of this middle circle, and that's okay. It doesn't have to work. Okay, so we're almost done. We want to mark the intersection of these two top circles, so right there, and now we have our 2 points to make our line that we hope is parallel. So click on the center of our middle circle and that intersection of the top, so 2 circles, and now we have our parallel lines, and we hope they're parallel. Let's check to see if they look parallel by dragging this right point on our bottom line, and we see that they look parallel the whole time. Notice that that top circle is shrinking and then getting bigger, and so is this segment length, which it should, because those match. That segment length is the radius of that top circle. That's what we use for the radius. So remember, we said we're making corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. So let's measure them to make sure they are congruent. So we're gonna measure this angle, the one that we copied, and let's measure the actual copy angle. This is the cloned angle. Okay. So we notice they're the same, and if we drag our point around again, so we're dragging this point around and they're still staying the same, which is great because remember, corresponding angles should be congruent in parallel lines. So we have created parallel lines. Yeah, it looks like a lot's going on, but I think you can get the hang of it. I think you can do it. All right, Opties, that's it for parallel lines by copying an angle construction. See you next time.